I never thought music could be a form of salvation. I am a bride-to-be. I've always lived in golden halls, at family parties, at those expensive events where no one really cares. But that day, one of the musicians hired for my engagement looked at me with a different intensity. To play at a private event for my rich family in the city. I hesitated. I had never had the courage to challenge anyone, but the hope in his eyes was something I couldn't ignore. I confess I felt my heart race, just thinking about what I was about to do, because I knew that nothing else in my life would ever be normal again. He arrived at the mansion in the late afternoon, and I soon realized that the place that was a prison of luxury and power to me seemed like a completely different world to him. The atmosphere was cold. Every detail was a reminder of my lack of freedom. And I couldn't shake the feeling that he was my only way out. The looks we exchanged were a code. And one of them came from me, the fiancé of a well-known military man in the city. I walked up to him, and that was the beginning of a plan I could never have imagined. I smiled as if I already knew him. My look was a plea for help, almost a silent scream. At that moment, the party no longer mattered. I felt as if he had been sent for something I didn't yet understand. The other guests were whispering as they watched us. Every gesture of mine was calculated to hide the plan. My fiancé's eyes were fixed on him. I knew I needed to act fast before it was too late. His guitar seemed like a weapon of liberation. Each chord echoed like a promise in that room. The atmosphere seemed charged with my desperate hope. I couldn't stop looking at him, showing my interest. I knew something was about to happen. But I never imagined I would have the courage to go so far. When he finished playing, silence filled the room. No one applauded. They just looked at him, distrustfully. It was as if his music had revealed my silent rebellion. I approached again, this time closer. My voice was soft, almost a whisper. I said I wanted to hear him play in private. I needed to test him, see if he would understand. We silently slipped away from the main hall, descending a corridor lit only by dim lamps. Every step was a calculated risk in my chest. I led him to a smaller room, isolated from the rest. Inside, there was only a piano and a chair. I asked him to play something just for me. My eyes didn't leave his, not for a second. He began to play, though his hands were trembling. I closed my eyes as if the melody were liberating me. When he finished, I leaned closer. My words froze him. "You don't belong in this place." I didn't know if he would understand the warning or the invitation. My expression was serious and desperate at the same time. Before he could respond, footsteps echoed in the hallway. The military man was approaching. My face paled, and I asked him not to say a word. The door opened, and my fiancé walked in. His gaze moved from me to him with suspicion. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. I saw him try to answer, but the words wouldn't come out. I quickly said he was just tuning his guitar. He stared at us for a long, intense moment. Finally, he ordered him to leave and go back to the hall. His legs trembled as he obeyed. The atmosphere outside seemed even heavier. Every guest seemed to watch his every move. He forced himself to keep playing as if nothing had happened. But inside, I was full of plans and fear. Why had I chosen him? What was I hiding from that man? And most importantly, why did I feel like he was the only one who could save me? The night continued with forced smiles and cold laughter. But beneath it, my decision was growing. I noticed whispered conversations that stopped when he passed. It was clear that he was now the center of attention. My fiancé's eyes never left him. His presence was suffocating. But my gaze was even more dangerous. I was dragging him into a trap he couldn't escape. At one point, I secretly passed him a note. He quickly hid it in his pocket, pretending nothing had happened. My heart was beating so fast I thought everyone could hear it. The note only had one sentence: Midnight Garden. I didn't know if he would be scared or if he would come. The hours dragged on until, finally, midnight arrived. I slipped out of the hall silently. The mansion's garden was lit by the pale glow of the moon. Shadows danced among the statues and hedges. I waited, feeling exposed in the silence. Suddenly he appeared with quick, discreet steps. I seemed nervous, constantly looking around. Without a word, I handed him another note. It said, "Trust me, don't ask." Before he could react, I kissed him suddenly. It was brief, but intense, like a warning and a promise at the same time. I quickly pulled away, my eyes filled with fear. "Be careful," I whispered, before disappearing into the shadows. He was left alone, shocked, with the taste of danger on his lips. I returned to the hall, trying to hide my agitation. The guests were laughing, drinking, as if nothing had happened. But I could no longer see the night in the same way. Every word, every look seemed part of a hidden game. My fiancé clinked his glass, asking for silence. He gave a speech full of pride and authority. Everyone applauded, though their smiles seemed forced. I kept my eyes on him, but my mind was on the musician. What was I risking by getting close to him? Why did I choose him among all the people present? My instincts told me to run away, and my heart told me to trust him. Something about him had completely captivated me. The night dragged on, suffocating and endless. When the event finally ended, I felt exhausted. He put away his guitar, ready to leave. But once again, I appeared out of nowhere. I pressed another folded note into his hand. "Don't open it here," I said firmly. He nodded, hiding it deep in his jacket. My eyes lingered on his one last time. Then I turned and left, disappearing into the crowd. Outside, the air felt heavier than ever. He finally opened the note under a street lamp. He froze, realizing that this was only the beginning. Sleeping was impossible for me that night. My words echoed in my head over and over again. In the morning, I was restless and determined. I knew I should leave him alone, but I couldn't. The next night, I waited for him at the mansion. The gates opened as if they were expecting him. Inside, the house seemed even darker and colder. I was waiting for him in the same small room as before. This time, my eyes showed relief and sadness. "You shouldn't have come back," I said softly. But at the same time, my hand reached for his. My touch sent a shiver down his spine. "I don't understand," he whispered. "You don't need to," I replied. "Just trust me." I wanted him to ask more, but my lips silenced him. The kiss was longer this time, full of urgency. He felt the weight of the secrets in every second. When we separated, tears glistened in my eyes. "You don't know what you're getting into," I said. But it was already too late for him to turn back. He was trapped body and soul by my presence. And deep down, I didn't want him to escape. That night, we spoke in whispers, afraid of being overheard. I revealed small fragments of my life. Enough for him to know I wasn't happy. My engagement to the military man was a cage. But behind my sadness, he saw a spark of rebellion. We were interrupted by a sudden noise in the hallway. I begged him to leave quickly before anyone saw us. He escaped through a side door, his heart racing. The night air felt liberating and suffocating at the same time. From then on, our meetings became secret and brief. Each time I gave him a new reason not to give up, but also a new danger lurking over us. He lived with the constant fear of being discovered. However, I couldn't resist seeing him again. My words, my touch were like an addiction. One night, I told him I wanted to run away. My eyes shone with hope and desperation at the same time. He didn't know how to respond, but he nodded. Deep down, I knew there was no turning back. The plan was simple but dangerous. We would leave the city at dawn without warning. I would meet him at the station with nothing but a bag. He didn't sleep that night, preparing. At dawn, he was already at the station waiting. The minutes felt like hours. Finally, he saw me appear, breathless. I looked around nervously before running towards him. But just as we were about to get on the train, a strong hand grabbed my arm and pulled me back. It was him. The military man had found us. His eyes burned with fury and betrayal. The musician froze, unable to react. He screamed at me, accusing me of treason. I cried, trying to free myself. Instinct took over him. He pushed him. For a moment, he stumbled, and we tried to run away. But soldiers appeared out of nowhere, surrounding us. It was a trap. I looked at him in desperation. He realized that I had risked everything for him, and he had no way to protect me. They separated us violently. He screamed my name, but they dragged him away. The last thing I saw were his eyes filled with fear. After that, everything went dark. I woke up in my room alone and disoriented. The walls were cold, the air heavy with silence. I didn't know how much time had passed. But his memory was the only thing keeping me alive. I promised myself I would see him again, no matter the cost. And in that golden room, our story was just beginning. Days passed, though I lost track of time. The servants never spoke, they just watched me in silence. Food arrived on silver trays, but I could barely eat. At night, I dreamed of his face and his music. One day, the door opened without warning. 2 maids led me down a narrow hallway. I expected punishment, but instead they led me outside. The daylight blinded me after so long in the dark. There waiting was the military man himself. His gaze pierced me with contempt. "You don't know what you've gotten into," he said. I clenched my fists, but fear held me back. He spoke of honor, betrayal, and punishment. Every word was filled with venom. I wanted to ask about him, but my voice failed me. He smiled, as if reading my thoughts. "He is no longer your concern," he said coldly. Those words cut deeper than any chain. They dragged me back to the room. But this time something had changed inside me. I refused to give up, no matter the cost. Every day I looked for a way to escape. The walls seemed unbreakable, but I kept trying. Hope was the only weapon I had left. One night, I heard footsteps near my room. A bribed guard slid a key under the door. "Run," he whispered before disappearing. I hesitated for a moment, and then I seized the opportunity. The hallways were dark, but my determination guided me. I avoided patrols, my heart pounding loudly. Finally, I found a door that led outside. The cold air hit my face. It was freedom. But I knew I couldn't just escape. I had to find him. I walked for hours, avoiding roads and towns. At dawn, I reached the outskirts of the city. Every street seemed dangerous, every corner a trap. Still, I continued, discreetly asking for news of him. Most people turned away in fear. But an old woman, a friend of my family, whispered an address to me. A house on the outskirts of the city, far from prying eyes. I ran there, my heart filled with fear and hope. The door creaked when I pushed it. Inside, shadows stretched across the room. And there he was, sitting near the window. His eyes widened the moment he saw me. Tears streamed down my face as I ran into his arms. For a moment, nothing else existed in the world. But the sound of boots outside broke everything. The military man had not given up the hunt. And now our time was running out. We hid in silence, holding our breath. The noise of the soldiers was getting closer. I clung to him as if it were the last time. The door trembled with the weight of their knocks. I knew they would find us sooner or later. Desperation gave me the courage to act. He pushed a piece of furniture against the door. It wouldn't hold for long, but it bought us time. "Follow me," he whispered, taking my hand. We ran towards the back of the house. A window led us into the darkness outside. We stumbled through the garden, out of breath. Behind us, shouts and orders filled the night. But the only thing that mattered was holding his hand. We ran through alleys and hidden paths. The city became a labyrinth of shadows. Finally, exhausted, we stopped at an abandoned warehouse. I collapsed into his arms, crying silently. He swore he would protect me no matter the cost. But even as he said it, I doubted us. We had no money, no allies, no place to hide. Only the love that united us. At dawn, we heard movement outside. My fiancé's reach was everywhere. We escaped again, heading towards the countryside. The fields stretched endlessly before us. Every step away from the city felt like hope, but also like walking deeper into danger. We found refuge in a small cabin. Its walls were old, but for us, it was paradise. For a few days, we lived as if we were free. Laughing, sharing stories, dreaming of a future. But reality always came back. We knew they would never stop looking for us. One night, I woke up crying. I said I had dreamed of chains and darkness. He hugged me, promising that would never happen. But deep down, I wasn't sure. Days later, smoke rose on the horizon. We knew it meant the soldiers were near. We ran again, carrying only what we could. Every step felt heavier, every breath shorter. Our love was the only thing keeping us alive. The chase seemed endless, like a nightmare. But even nightmares must end someday. We decided to head towards the border. Crossing it would mean freedom or death. It was our only chance. Hand in hand, we prepared for the final escape. And at that moment, nothing else mattered but us. We traveled by night, hiding during the day. Every sound made us fear being discovered. But our determination pushed us forward. The mountains in the distance marked the border. Crossing them would mean a new life. Or the end of everything. We climbed in silence, step by step. His hand in mine gave me strength. At dawn, we reached the last peak. Freedom was just on the other side. But behind us, voices were shouting. The soldiers had found our trail. We ran, our hearts beating faster than the gunshots. Bullets ricocheted off the rocks. He shielded me with his body as we moved forward. Every step felt like it could be the last. Finally, we crossed to the other side. The soldiers stopped, unable to follow us. We collapsed, breathless but alive. Tears of relief streamed down my cheeks. For the first time, I felt like we were safe. But safety didn't mean peace. We were alone in a land that wasn't ours. Without a future except the one we would build ourselves. I smiled at him through my tears. And in that smile, I found hope. We walked together hand in hand. Every step was a promise of survival. Our love defied chains, soldiers, and fear. And although the road ahead was uncertain, I knew we would face it together. The world was vast, but so was our courage. We were fugitives, but we were also free. Every heartbeat reminded me of what we had conquered and what we still had to fight for. The horizon stretched before us, infinite. We had no map, no destination. Only the certainty that they wouldn't separate us again. My hand squeezed his. My eyes, though tired, still burned with fire. "I'm not afraid," I whispered. Neither was he, not anymore. We had already lost everything once. Now we only had each other to lose. And that made us stronger than ever. Step by step, we disappeared into the unknown, leaving behind the chains of the past, and embracing a future written only by us. Without walls, without prisons, without masters. Just two souls walking towards freedom. The night sky became our roof. The stars, our silent witnesses. Every breath was proof that we had survived. And every look between us was proof that we would endure. Our story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. We walked towards the horizon with nothing but love. Love stronger than fear, stronger than death. And although danger might return someday, we knew we would never give up. The future was uncertain, but it was ours. Every step, every heartbeat proved it. The world could chase us, but it would never break us. Because we had chosen love over fear, and that choice would guide us forever. To be continued?